Hi everyone, welcome to the product workshop. My name is Sankalp and I currently lead the product at Walmart. I have also led multiple teams in multiple banks, creating very high impact products. And today we'll be discussing on what it takes to take the next leap in product management. Now, as a product person, I'm sure you have thought about times when you need to upgrade your skills, prioritize about what to upgrade, so on and so forth. And typically, I think, to be honest, even I was very confused when I started my career. And to be very precise, I wasn't very aware of the product role. I took various rules and in a way to create customer value, I constantly made product changes. I realized that I'm actually doing product management and I grew in that. Now, why I chose product management, is very personal to me. I had been like that from childhood, and if I take an example, the first ever product that I built would be when I was a young child. I had to pass on a salt pot. Had to stand on the chair to pass on the salt pot. Now that's very not very convenient for me. So what I did was I put a simple sail on it and put beads under it so that I could simply blow air into it and it will move to the next person. And that's what product management is. You need to identify the areas of concern of the user, areas of pain point, the opportunities, and just go after it. Typically, in any organization, a product management role can be largely divided into four aspects. And the first aspect is to look out for these opportunities and these pain points. How do you constantly measure, take feedbacks and whatnot to arrive at the next big area of improvement, which will give you an additional value. While you do that, you need to prioritize among them, and that's where you come into contact with your stakeholders, users, development team, so on and so forth. The second most important is to initiate those drives and drive it till completion. And we'll be talking about how do you make that more efficient, how do you make that in tune with your expectations of your customers, of your stakeholders, so on and so forth. Third, you need to practice how do you start refining those requirements. You start off with a product, but at the end, the product looks very different from what you started, and you need to make continuous improvement. You need to refine it continuously. And we'll be talking about frameworks which will help you refine it more effectively. In a way, you are able to prioritize it for the next best users or whoever it is, right? To create the next best value. And while you are doing all this, you are identifying the areas, you are identifying what to build, when to build. How do you keep up with the game, with your competition, to constantly deliver the value you need to your customers so that they stay with you? Now, in our workshop, if I just break it down into few parts, we'll be largely discussing on three aspects. Number one, how do you translate your overall company vision into your product strategy? How do you distill it, and how do you identify what to do, what not to do, when to do, so on and so forth? Once you identified those areas, the next big thing is how do you develop that product? That is where we'll try to identify some of the prioritization metrics that I have been using and could you be using what I have not used because they were not relevant. We'll also talk about execution, what I mentioned. How do you deliver those into reality? And also, we'll talk about setting up feedback structures, structures which will help you grab insights on what the user is using, so on and so forth. While you are doing all this, we'll also talk about what to measure and measuring actually what matters to you. We'll talk about different metrics structures that we follow, such as North Star, such as KPIs, OKRs, or goal signals, anything. And we'll be largely delving into when to measure what, at what stage of the product you need to measure what, and so on and so forth. And we'll go up to the scale up point. And the third aspect is how do you scale up and how do you start to experiment? So we'll talk about how do you prioritize what to scale, when do you plan to scale, how do you keep the experimentation going, and while you are having all these things, you are having a lot of feedbacks, how do you prioritize what to do next? So in a nutshell, what do you take away from this workshop? Number one, you will learn about how do you translate your business goals into your product strategy, how do you largely refine them and keep them in a very well prioritized and refined manner. Secondly, you will also learn about how do you match up your delivery speed to the expectation of your stakeholders. Lastly, while you are identifying areas of improvement and delivering on time, how do you keep building the overall value and keep increasing in every time? And when I talk about value, it's not just for the external parties, it belongs to the team as well. If they feel it's valuable, their work is being valued, so on and so forth. To your stakeholders, if their investment is being valued, to your users, if their pain points and concerns are being looked into, so on and so forth. So net, who all have started watching this video, you're already a step ahead of your competitors because you've already taken action on your idea. And if you take an action, you realize what was working and what was not working, you inspect, you retrospect, and you adapt. So see you at the workshop. Thank you.